D Mace Vingan and Donick 1025, the game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We hope you are having a wonderful Friday. Willie Donick is in Winnipeg, where the Predators will take on, of course, the Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night. A rough one. Rough for the Predators last night, a 3-2 overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens. We will get into that later in the program. How is everybody doing today, though?
Hey, Willie, are you win a peg?
I am in the peg.
That would have worked better had the Predators won last night, but they didn't.
I know. They still got a point. You can't take it as a cup half full.
Should have gotten two.
Cup half full here. That 1 point may be the difference at the end.
Okay.
Boom.
We'll talk about that in April.
Exactly. Let's talk about that later.
So
how is it up in Winnipeg?
Well, it's rainy. It's kind of dank here. This is
the dank.
Dank. Oh wow. Where's
dank.
the bell? I haven't heard Willie say that word.
I don't think dank is worthy of a bell.
Okay, but it's not used. No one used dank. No one.
We got great weather.
Dank. Who has used
for different reasons?
Who has used? Okay.
Okay, hold on. The definition.
Hold on.
We'll take a poll here. The definition of dank: disagreeably damp, musty, and typically cold.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
There we go. Bam.
Okay, good job, Willie.
Thank you, Willie.
And compared to Montreal and Ottawa and Toronto, where we had just gorgeous weather, it's a little bit of a downer, but it's a day to regroup. And for 19 minutes and 40 seconds, I thought the Predators played the formula that hopefully will be successful and put them in positions to win. But it's just too bad what happened at the end. Just one of those games where miraculous things happened at the end, and we'll go over it a little bit later. But a point is better than 0 points. 2-1-2 after 5 games is light years better than 0-5 to start last year. So there's some good to fade through, but tomorrow a very tough contest to round out the road trip. And guys, I am sporting during the dank weather. I'm coming out with the bright satin jacket from the Medicine Hat / St. Catharines Blue Jays.
Oh wow!
Back in the day, since I'm up in Canada. So if you're watching on our YouTube chat, you are going to see the Blue Jay colors.
Look at that!
Yeah.
But
like
Willie,
old school.
I like it.
Yeah.
You know what I always say? You could have had the jersey and the pants.
I know.
Gosh.
I know.
But you was betting on yourself. I like that.
I was betting on myself. We'll tell that story another day. But the Blue Jays play Game 5. They're back in the series. They play Game 5 at 5 o'clock, and the Dodgers will try to close out the Milwaukee Brewers later tonight.
We look ahead to Sunday for the Tennessee Titans first. The injury report is out.
Mm-hmm.
No Calvin Ridley on Sunday for the Tennessee Titans, out with a hamstring injury. Arden Key also out with a quad injury. Blake Hance and Bryce Oliver will also be out for the Tennessee Titans. Marcus Harris, Draymond Jones, and Tavondre Sweat all listed as questionable. On the other side of the ball, Stephon Diggs, questionable with a chest injury. Harold Landry, questionable with an ankle injury in his return to Tennessee. But that's not the return to Tennessee everybody is talking about. It's about Mike Vrabel. And we haven't talked much about Mike Vrabel this week. Some other stuff happened with the Tennessee Titans that needed our attention. So we probably would have spent most of the week talking about Mike Vrabel had the Titans not fired Brian Callahan. But it's Friday. We've talked about Brian Callahan. That chapter is behind us. Now we look ahead to Sunday with Mike Vrabel. And I have been fascinated by how this game has been covered around the NFL. Let's just start here. We know that Mike Vrabel had plenty of success as head coach of the Tennessee Titans. 54-45 over 6 seasons at the helm of the Titans. He took the Titans to the playoffs 3 times. He won the division twice. He was once the number 1 seed in the AFC playoffs and won Coach of the Year. We know all of those things. And since Mike Vrabel left Tennessee, not by his choice, of course, he was fired by the Tennessee Titans. The Titans and the New England Patriots are on divergent paths. The Patriots arrive here 4-2. If I'm not mistaken, they've won 3 consecutive games, including an impressive win on the road at Buffalo a couple of weeks ago. The Patriots are coming off of a win at New Orleans, another bad team. And a lot of people imagine Mike Vrabel's going to come down here and whip that butt. This is what fascinates me, guys, about the narrative around this game. Let me give you a headline from the Boston Globe. Of course, the Boston Globe, the paper of record in Boston, Massachusetts. Here was a headline earlier this week from the Boston Globe. Quote, Mike Vrabel should be grateful he got fired by the Titans, now the NFL's biggest train wreck. That was a headline in the Boston Globe. I don't mean to pick on my friend Gentry Estes of the Tennessean. He wrote a column earlier this week with the headline, Mike Vrabel isn't a Tennessee Titans villain. He'll be one of their biggest regrets. I feel like, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong here, I feel like people are glossing over the bad with Mike Vrabel. Don't people remember the fact that Mike Vrabel lost 18 of his final 24 games as head coach of the Tennessee Titans? People seem to forget that. And all of these articles I've read about, man, Titans really screwed up firing Mike Vrabel. People forget it didn't go well down the stretch. I don't remember how I felt when the Titans fired Mike Vrabel. I want you guys to tell me how you felt because I don't remember how you guys felt either. But I feel like there was a lot of, it was time for the Tennessee Titans to fire Mike Vrabel. He had worn out his welcome. Things apparently weren't going well behind the scenes, and the team was losing a lot. So, Willie, this is what fascinates me most about the lead up to this game. So many stories about how I can't believe the Titans fired Mike Vrabel. The Patriots, what a coup bringing home Mike Vrabel. Look at how well the Patriots are playing right now. The Tennessee Titans sure screwed up. They're the biggest train wreck in the NFL. But I feel like without dismissing the good that Vrabel did here, I feel like people are just glossing over the bad.
Maybe. I think to fit the narrative, I do agree on one line that's in there. And that is the Titans, in retrospect, for sure, hindsight's 2020. But I think in the moment, I think you could look back if you're Mike Vrabel and say, you know what, this might be the best thing. So the quote, they did him a favor, I think there's something to that because here is my take on the big picture here. I don't care who the coach was. You pick whoever you thought is the best coach, period. If you think it's Mike Vrabel, great. If you think it's Brian Callahan, you probably don't. Pick whoever, Chuck Noll, Tom Landry, Bill Walsh, magically Vince Lombardi, whoever it might be. This team was going to start to lose. The direction it was going when they fired Vrabel just continued on because of the roster. I hope I'm not boring people by bringing that back up, but it's pretty simple. When you go for 4 years and you don't draft any good players, and only about 2 of them are even on the roster right now, you're going to lose. I don't care who the coach is. So, Adam, I think you're partially right that we are sort of glossing over that they were struggling when Mike Vrabel left because they were starting to see the warts of the roster that had been placed with the bad drafts of 2020 through 2022.
It's just a comparison. That's what the fan base will always do because it's, what my team is doing now compared to what his team is doing now, regardless of the situation, because you're not looking at the roster as a whole. You're not looking you're not looking at the makeup of the team, the makeup of the organization. Maybe, just maybe, he's in a better place to thrive than he was or would have been further here in Nashville, because what it seemed to be was a clash between he and the owner. I think people look at it as, well, they fired John Robinson, that's why the team started going bad. No, it didn't. It was just a matter of time. I would say John got out. He was the lucky one, because he didn't have
But he didn't have the. He doesn't maybe have the
no,
name.
but he doesn't.
Like,
but
I think Mike Vrabel, when he got fired, could probably sit there and go, I'm going to get another shot.
no,
John Robinson obviously still hasn't gotten another shot. DJ.
But what he will, but whether it was because whether if he got fired now or later or whatnot, it's hard for GMs to get a second shot anyway. Now, maybe the trend changes because John was so young when he got the job and whatnot. But I look at it as he was the lucky one, because he doesn't have to endure what Vrabel endured. He didn't have to endure or take on what what Rand Carthon did, and he definitely didn't have to take on what Brian Callahan went through. Yes, he drafted these guys that ultimately is the reason, or one of the reasons, that the Titans are in this position, but people are going to forget about that. Why? Because when he was GM, he was still winning. That's all they remember. When John was GM, he was, and if they had fired Mike Vrabel right after that, and then Mike Vrabel would have been the hero, because the fans would have said, y'all got rid of a winning GM and a winning coach, and look at y'all at the same time. But because it didn't happen, and Vrabel, they somehow made amends for a moment, and she allowed him to stay on, then you started to see the bad. So we couldn't separate, Vrabel from the bad. We can't do it anymore. But what people are doing now is, because of the help of Brian Callahan and upper management, it's glossed over because of how bad he was. Not knowing that if Vrabel would have stayed here, he would have incurred some of this mess too.
Yes,
it probably would. It probably would have been better than 3 wins. But
yes, it may be better. But do we all agree, if they didn't fire him when they did, he would clearly be fired by now. Somewhere along the line, he'd already
absolutely.
Be
gone. Yes. That's why I'm saying he would have occurred some of that. It would have been on his back had he.
Yes.
And it's going to always be on it. But people are forgetting it. People are going to forget about it because of what Brian Callahan and his coaching staff haven't done. So it sort of puts a thin layer over the bad that Mike Vrabel did and people complained about when he got fired. Let's remember, it wasn't all, roses and smell goods around here when Vrabel got fired. People are like, about time. They needed it. He got too arrogant, this and that, and they wasn't winning.
Well, to Derek's point, I think a lot of Titans fans, maybe a lot is strong, but I'm going to go with it. I think a lot of Titans fans are looking at Mike Vrabel's tenure through rose-colored glasses because of how bad it's been since he left.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not discounting what Mike Vrabel did here. He helped lead the Titans back to prominence. But let's not pretend that by the time the Titans fired him, it was time for a change of scenery. Let me use an example from my past, and Willie can add his perspective as well. When the Predators fired Peter Laviolette in early January 2020, it was time for Peter Laviolette to go. The Predators had a ton of success under Peter Laviolette. They went to the playoffs every year. They won the President's Trophy. They went to the Stanley Cup final. Peter Laviolette oversaw the most successful era of Nashville Predators hockey. But by the time he was fired, it was clear it was time for him to go. I was in that dressing room every day. I can tell you that it just wasn't working anymore. Even though Laviolette was incredibly successful here, just as Vrabel was. Vrabel had a lot of success. But after a while, the two of them are quite similar. They come in, they have big personalities, they're stubborn, and it works when you're winning. But when you start losing, those personalities start rubbing people the wrong way. So
I would add this, Adam.
Go ahead.
I think because I think you're right on. There are similarities with both of those coaches. And I think it's just a cycle that you see in sports. like I know we're going to play a clip from Diana Rossini that you sent us, Adam, where she says Mike Vrabel wanted to be in Nashville the rest of his life. Well, that's not really realistic in the NFL, right? The reality is in the NFL, the NHL, Major League Baseball, there's a cycle that even really good coaches normally fall in, right? There's some exceptions, but I would add that the window for the team to win was closing. It was closing on Laviolette. They weren't quite the same team that they had been 2 or 3 years before, right? They were still good, hanging on. And the same was true of the Titans. The window was shutting on Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Kevin Byard, that whole nucleus of players that had a really nice run that Mike Vrabel helped. I don't know if I would say he maximized it, but he gave them a chance for about 3 straight years. That window was closing. Do we agree? And we knew what was on the other side. There was no young talent coming up.
No, there wasn't. And that's why I said it. Eventually, and as he did, he took on, what was inevitable. Again, he probably wouldn't have, Brian Callahan won 3 games last year and 1 this year. He probably would have won 5, pushing 6. And people don't understand how, but maybe they do. Maybe they understand how bad the roster was, but they felt like somebody like Vrabel, with his command, his demand for respect, and him being a leader, could, if anybody could change it, he could change it. Now they're thinking that, but when he got fired, everybody knows. Listen, it wasn't. There were some people calling and saying, yes, they regretted. They should have kept him. They should have got rid of somebody else or Brinker. But there were a lot of people saying as well, it was time. They didn't say he was a bad coach. They just said it was time. People got tired of the stick and him acting as if he knows better than anybody, and they were not winning. So he did what he could. He moved on. Luckily for he and John Robinson, that they didn't have to try to rebuild this team, which is going to take a lot.
Let's go to Dr. Locke on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Dr. Locke, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
What's up, fellas? How we doing?
Good. You?
Good.
Good. The way I envision it, that it went down, and believe me, I'm an avid listener, long-time season ticket holder, and I follow football to the end, right? For $39.95, I'll even give you 70% winners on Saturday, but that's another story. The way I envision it is I kind of look at it like any given Sunday moment with Carmen. What was her name? The Paglione character.
Cameron Diaz.
Female owner.
Yeah, Diaz.
Cameron Diaz. That's Amy Adams, right? She's the clueless Paglione. Wishes she was good, but doesn't really know ass from her elbow. Then you got the alpha male Pacino, played by Vrabel, right?
Vrabel? Oh.
So, right, we had no intent of letting him go. She meddled that whole season, telling him what to do, how to do. He's going to have to do this with his assistant coaches. And let me ask you, who do you want to play for? You want to play for a head coach who doesn't stand up for his assistants? Because that guy, if there's a good DC, OC in the world, they're going to want to play with him, because he's the one that'll say, look, man, stay the hell away from my team, right? He'll say the Paglione, the Amy Adams Strong, stay in your lane. Get out of my office. And I guarantee what happened that we're never going to know is he called her everything you can read about. Everything that you think about her, he told her. He said, look here, and you already know how it went. She said, oh, my God, nobody talks to me that way. You're fired. You see this Super Bowl ring? You see, I'm going to be a ring of honor in the New England Patriots. They're already courting to me. They're talking to me. I'll have a job before I walk out of that office, you dumb. You already know how it goes, right? And sure enough, he is the head coach, and the rooster is coming to roost. He is going to come back, and he's going to beat the living hell out of us. And the only reason Amy Adams, the only reason she fired that lame-ass coach, she fired him because she was trying to take the win away from Vrabel. Now You didn't beat your replacement, Vrabel. You beat what's this ass clown temporary coach?
Thank you for
What's
the
his
call,
name?
Dr. Locke. We get it. We get the point. You don't like Amy Adams Strunk. It sounds like Mike Vrabel to Dr. Locke bears no responsibility for what happened at the end of his tenure.
I have a question for the other side for you guys to answer. Do you think there will be a public exchange of pleasantries on the field between Amy Adams Strunk and Mike Vrabel on Sunday?
That's a good question. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Mike Vrabel returning to Nashville on Sunday with the surging New England Patriots. How should his time here be remembered? Are people looking at his tenure here through rose-colored glasses? 615-737-1025. Let me tell all of you that Chase and Big Joe will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky inside the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football games. The Monday night matchups, Buccaneers and Lions, and Texans Seahawks.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is a resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW Tigers or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson. You can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
Coach, it's Titans week. What are your thoughts on going back there?
This is going to be probably a lot to be said about this, and think would file under the category of, is it interesting or important? And I would probably say this would be very interesting, but in the end, not very important to our preparation or what we need to continue to try to do to improve as a team. But having spent, 6 years there or 7 years there, it's, I think it'll be nice to see some people that I haven't seen in a few years that helped us win, players and staff. But we've got a huge job here to do as we prepare for them.
That was Mike Vrabel earlier this week talking about his return to Tennessee this weekend with the New England Patriots. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Our show is presented by BAX Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com. Willie, before the break, you asked if Amy Adams Strunk and not Brian Callahan, sorry, slip of the tongue there, Mike Vrabel, Amy Adams Strunk and Mike Vrabel would have some sort of greeting before the game. And I'm picturing it now. You know how it is the first time you see your ex in public after the breakup? They're there. They know you're there. You're making awkward eye contact from across the room. You're trying to go out of your way not to interact, but you know that you're going to have to at some point. And then eventually you cross paths and you're just like, hey, good to see you. How are you? How are things? How have you been? You look great.
Wait, how does it go again? What's the first word?
You better not say she looked great if you were somebody else.
Hey,
just like
Hey.
Hey.
more like David just did it. A little crack in the voice, how are things? You look good. I'm doing well. Things are good. Like that. Like I imagine that's
talk,
what.
Awkward small talk.
Precisely.
Okay, so here, would you consider this? Let me throw this at D Mace.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, D Mace is a direct person. If you were Amy Adams Strunk, would you go right up to Mike Vrabel? You know where he likes to be before the game. You can find him and just say, "Hey, I want to tell you, I'm happy for you." You're not saying, "Hey, I regret this or I regret that." You say, "Mike, it's good to see you. I'm happy for you," or say something funny like, "I hope we beat you today, but I'm glad you have another opportunity. I wish you well." Something like that.
I think Amy is a little bit more calculated than her dad. I think her dad would have just been like, he would have threw up the double birds and been like, I ain't going nowhere near him. He probably would have had a few choice words to say leading up to the game. But I think Amy understands like this is a key moment for her, because she can either make it more about her or a little bit less about her ultimately. Because if she duck and dodge him, she's going to make it more about her. And then everybody's got to say, look, she can't even face the facts with the mistakes that she made. She don't even want to talk to the man. The man's doing great. She fired him. And she ducking and dodging him when he's coming to her house. Like, I'm in your backyard and you don't want to come out. You're going to stay in the house as if you got something to do. You ain't coming out. It's a backyard party. Where you at? So I believe she's more savvy than that. And she understands that, listen, I may not like you. I may have fired you for reasons that, listen, I think that are valid. But you know what? I'm going to walk up to you and I'm going to shake your hand and I'm going to smile and say, good job. And I'm going to walk away. And you know what everybody else is going to say? They're going to say, okay, they're good. Or they're going to, wait, what did they talk about? Did she really say, hey, I'm sorry for firing you? But it will not be a negative, especially if she parts away smiling and Vrabel does as well.
Adam in Portland.
Would you do it? Would you do it?
Yeah, I would do it. Oh, definitely. I
think that would be a classy move where you're being professional and you're moving forward and you're looking at each other as two human beings, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's as ugly as it may have gotten on the way out.
Adam in Portland on our text line says, if that is the scenario we are going by, then Mike Vrabel will walk away going, damn, the Titans really let themselves go since we broke up.
Yeah, it could be.
Let's go to Steven on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Steven, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to call because I feel like I can give a unique perspective as kind of a lifelong Indianapolis Colts fan.
Sure.
But living in Nashville, I know, right? But living in Nashville, listening to a ton of indie radio, listening to a ton of you guys, all the way back to Stillman and Rex Road and everything. I think that the rose-colored glasses for Vrabel, I think it's almost been beaten over the head of the Titans. Because as someone who listens in Indiana, there's a ton of respect for Vrabel. I think it's looked at that he kind of made chicken salad out of chicken, with everything that was going on. And I think with the national media constantly saying that it's been beaten over the Titans fans here when people like you guys have been very open and very forward on the fact that, there wasn't much there. He didn't do well in the end. He struggled to hire assistants when the OCs left, the very talented ones, the DCs, the players, as they left. He really kind of struggled with that, so he does deserve the blame. But I think kind of the overall thing is I think it's just been beaten over the head of the Titans fans.
Thank you for the call, Stephen.
You get under the microscope. You get scrutinized in your own market more so than you are from afar. So from afar, I think Mike Vrabel maintained a very high level of credibility. A, because he was a decorated player that played for a lot of championship teams. That had a lot of street cred. And I think they looked at a team from afar when they were good of, hey, this Titans team is not super loaded. They don't have a superstar at quarterback. They have a nice team. They have one great player in Derrick Henry. And what was, you tell me, guys, I think the answer is obvious. What was the biggest break that Mike Vrabel got that made him successful?
Tannehill, getting Tannehill.
Exactly. That was a brilliant trade that really, at the time, didn't get a lot of fanfare. It was more of an insurance policy for Mariota that turned out to be a huge turning point. Mike Vrabel may not be coaching in the NFL if that trade doesn't happen. If Mariota ages out or they don't commit to him and he is just the average, career backup that he's become, and they don't replace him with Ryan Tannehill where they caught, give them full marks for visualizing it. But I'm not even sure they thought that they could get that much great production for about 3 years for Tannehill. Agreed?
No, you're right. They struck gold with the Ryan Tannehill trade because he was going to be that guy that helped, secure that stability that they needed at that position. They needed someone just not to lose games more than he, won them. And Ryan Tannehill was that, and he could pull out wins for you. But he had his warts as well. And we saw him in plain view against Cincinnati and as the season went on. But that was his saving grace. And then Derrick Henry coming into his own. Those two for that offense was like a match made in heaven. And then you have him as a head coach just being a leader. He's not an X's and O's guy, especially not on offense. He was just the leader of a team that was ready to go. That's why I still look back and say, well, Mike Mularkey probably would have did the same thing with that roster.
A great
that
question,
Vrabel did.
because it does get lost in the shuffle sometimes. I think probably outside of Nashville, that Vrabel did inherit a playoff team. He didn't inherit a team that was on the bottom. Like Robinson was already there. He had made the flip of the first pick, and the roster had come a long way by the time Vrabel took the reins.
One texter says, I gave up my season tickets and PSLs when Amy fired Vrabel. I believe it was Amy's ego clashing with Vrabel's and interfering with him that resulted in the Titans' downfall. She didn't see he was the one that knew what he was doing and then hired Carthon and Brinker. Now the Patriots have a winner and the Titans are losers.
Well, I mean, there's not much I can kind of push back on.
But this is the point I was making at the beginning. Without discounting what Mike Vrabel did for most of his time in Tennessee, again, 3 playoff appearances, 2 division titles, a number 1 seed in the AFC, coach of the year, finished 9 games over 500 over 6 seasons. But things fell apart at the end, and there were many reasons why things fell apart at the end. But Mike Vrabel wasn't able to work the same magic that he did early in his tenure. the thing that was most impressive about Mike Vrabel early on was he squeezed a lot out of rosters that probably shouldn't have been as good as they were. But
but there was still, don't you think, Adam, there was still a big difference when they were winning with the quality of the roster as opposed to the end,
Sure,
where those guys aged out, the key guys that we've been talking about.
That's fair. Again, I just think that when we look at Vrabel as a whole, his time here was a success. But let's not pretend that everything was just perfect with Vrabel here. And I think because the Titans have been so terrible since he left, a lot of people, many of whom do not watch the Titans on a weekly basis, think that he was the only reason why they were successful. Again, I mentioned the headline from the Boston Globe. Mike Vrabel should be grateful he got fired by the Titans, now the NFL's biggest train wreck. There was a line in that story, quote, a strong candidate to get the number 1 pick 2 years in a row. The Titans are so irrelevant that the Fox affiliate in Memphis chose the Cowboys game over the Titans last Sunday. It's like Mike Vrabel was the only thing holding this together. So I've been absorbing all of this content over the past week because I'm interested in hearing what people think about this matchup. Because quite frankly, if not for Mike Vrabel, I don't know how many people would be talking Patriots Titans.
Again, I can understand, but this is being said, I think, of people that we're not looking at this roster from up close, because this roster and whoever was coaching it was doomed to fail eventually, and it started eroding very fast. And the bad part about it is they still had Derrick Henry, they still had some of these guys that were winning for them, but they just couldn't do it anymore. And the message didn't land the same way it did, in years prior. So again, he had his run, and it was a really, really good run. But at the end, it's like a lot of cases when coaches get fired, it just soured it gradually. And as a matter of fact, it wasn't gradually, it just plummeted, and his team could never regroup. So he was going to be a part of the mess regardless.
615-737-1025. We will take your reaction coming up next on the return of Mike Vrabel, the conquering hero, Mike Vrabel, returning with the 4-2 Patriots on Sunday against the 1-5 Titans, fresh off firing Brian Callahan. 615-737-1025. If you are headed to Nissan Stadium for that game on Sunday, you should stop by John Bon Jovi's before the game to watch the pregame show with 1025 The Game. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer and cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. The pregame show is brought to you by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Circus Sportsbook Kentucky.
want to see anybody that shares a job with you, you know what I mean, get let go. That's not the, you know, that's a tough feeling, you know, with family and school and, you know, whether it's in college or pro, like we're in the media every single day. And there's a human element to this, and that I don't want to forget. I just remember all those coaches that or people that reached out after I was let go. And you know, I think that that's important because nobody texts when you lose; they all text when you win. So it's a good reminder.
That was Mike Vrabel the other day saying he did reach out to Brian Callahan after the Titans fired Brian Callahan. Now they have something in common. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you, talking Mike Vrabel's return. Here's a phrase I never thought I'd utter on this show. Campus Dog is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. All right, Campus Dog, go ahead.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Just wanted to add to the discussion and kind of ask a question and make a statement. But diehard fan, been following him, been a season ticket holder since the beginning, all that. And you know, I remember Vrabel being here and a lot of the disgust I had with him, to be honest with you, especially when the team turned bad. But even before that, I hated some of the calls he would make, and I'm talking about going for two, like in the playoff game with the Bengals right out the gate, and he did it. I'm pretty sure the first game he coached did one of those early in the game where he goes for two. I don't understand that concept, and maybe I'm getting older, and I know analytics tell you, but there can't be analytics that tell you after you score a touchdown, you're up 6-0, that you need to go for two at the beginning of the game. I can't imagine that there are, that it's a gut thing. So I wanted to make that statement. And then plus with all the injuries that we had, this team did not play well his last 2 years at all. So I wanted to ask Derek something.
Mhm.
You talked about, I mean, not you, but Blaine Bishop earlier talked about Eddie George and what a motivator he is, and that he would love to see him as a head coach. I know Mike Vrabel's a great motivator and a leader too, but it takes more than that, right? I mean, would you agree that he made a lot of bad calls when he was here? He had a team that injury prone, and would you be open to an Eddie George thought? I can hang up and listen. Thanks.
Thank you. Listen, Mike had his blunders his first year, as every first-time head coach has. So he wasn't going to be immune to those things. He got better each and every year as far as how to manage, you know, the players on game day, making sure they had what they needed during the week. He was good at that. He wasn't good at taking a bad roster and making it better. He hadn't proven that he could do that. Why? Because when he came in, he had a roster already to go. That roster, that food was heated up, ready to be served. The only thing you had to do was probably add a little spices to it here and there. But for the most part, it was ready to eat, ready to go. So we saw him in a situation like that. We didn't see him in a situation that he found himself in as his career went winding down, and he just couldn't overcome that. Now, Eddie falls out of what I want as a criteria for a quarterback. For a head coach, he's not in that. He falls out.
Yesterday we did our head coach match, Tinder, Hinge, dating app of your choice, and Derek said a non-starter for him is a college coach. He will not hire anybody from the college ranks. So,
and you don't have head coaching experience in the NFL. That's another. So, and listen, it's. I don't think I would believe. I know Eddie he did a great job at taking that program at TSU and making them relevant when he left. He made that a good program when he left. He seems to be doing the same thing with Bowling Green. He's making that a good program. Those things are on a smaller level. He will get, as he continues to do what he has been doing, it will get better as he move on. But I think it wouldn't be advantageous for his career. And it wouldn't be fair to him. Hell, and possibly even his family, to take on this mess. I understand. Great leader. Eddie's a great leader. But just because you're a great leader doesn't mean you can take on every battle. Some battles you just got to be like, I'm not ready for that one. That one, no, I'm not. We don't have anything. I can't win no matter what I do. Like Mick said in Rocky, you can't win. And what happened? He didn't win. He didn't beat him. He had to go back and recruit. But I think that would be unfair to Eddie to ask him. Now, interview him. That's great. Interview him. Because I think that helps him in the long run. But interview him. But for me and where this team is at, I need someone that has been through that at this level.
And Eddie George did get an interview last year with the Chicago Bears, if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly. So he's going, and that's only going to help him. And I see it's helping him already. Look at what he's doing at his next stop. He's improving that program. So he's going to get to a point where he's going to be the hot name on the block. He's going to be that coach that everybody's looking, not just in college, but in the NFL. But I think right now there's a process that he could potentially be overstepping. Like he may be skipping all the processes that he has to go through to get that job that he's truly going to be successful at in this league, in the NFL.
And Willie, we all know that if the Titans were to do what the caller suggested and hire Eddie George to be the next head coach of the Tennessee Titans, it would give you all the warm and fuzzies, right? Eddie George, franchise icon.
I would root for him.
Franchise icon. I've never met Eddie George. Derek knows Eddie George incredibly well. Seems like an incredibly lovely man. Easy to root for, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think this organization at this point is in a place to experiment with Eddie George as a head coach. They need a tested NFL head coach.
I would agree, and you guys hit on it. You would win the press conference 10 times over. Everybody would be rooting for Eddie George.
Mm-hmm.
It would be fun, but then the reality would set in, and you can have countless examples of college coaches where you bring back the famous alum, and he's the coach. Every now and then it works, but just as often it doesn't work because after it doesn't go well. All of everybody will turn on you, and I would hate to see that for Eddie George. And I would say this: if I'm Eddie George, I would be reticent to take that job right now. This is that's not an easy spot to jump in for your first head coaching job with the state of the roster right now. The roster is a long way away. That's why my number one thing was a builder. A builder. I'd like to have somebody that's been through the process of building a roster and had to get through the tough times.
Let's go to Dustin in Hopkinsville on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Dustin, thank you for calling and all of your texts. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Y'all want me to sing a little Toby Keith for you like I did the last one? No, I wanted to elaborate a little bit on Eddie George. And a lot of fans, it is just Eddie was just this huge person in Nashville when he was playing for, just like Derek was and D-Mace, all these guys. And no offense, but you're putting the cart before the horse, and Eddie's smarter than that. He has to crawl before he can walk. These schools he's at are giving him his what do you call it? Like for a toddler, they're teaching him how to walk, and he can't learn on the fly in the NFL. Things are moving they're so much different. I don't know anything about it because I haven't done it, but I know enough to know that. So you'd be setting Eddie up for failure. He needs to go to a more prominent school and have success in the Big Ten, the SEC, something like that. But I would love to see Eddie as a running back coach or a coach's assistant at some point at the Titans and let that marinate for a few years and see where it goes.
Thank you for the call, Dustin. Let's go to Mike on our phone line. Mike, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
How you doing, guys?
Good, thank you.
Hey, got a question for the panel. We got Mike Vrabel coming back into town, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. And we're all talking about it that he was the fired coach, and now he's now facing an interim coach of a person that he knew, and then he also knew Brian Callahan, and they supposedly talk on the phone. What if by some reason, and it would have to be God given, I think, the Titans actually win Sunday, because they have no pressure on them. This is a zero pressure for the Titans. I say forget the playbook, let everything go, just get out there and play football and have fun and beat Mike Vrabel. Wouldn't that just embarrass the hell out of him? Because I think he's coming into town with a chip on his shoulder. I like Mike Vrabel. I really did. They should never have let him go. But I think he wants to come down here and beat us 48-10, and don't let it happen. And I think if the coaching staff, including the interim, says, you know what, guys, the playbook's out. Let's just go out there and play football and have fun.
Thank you for the call, Mike. I think that sounds, it's easier said than done, right? That sounds great, guys. Just tear up the game plan. Just go out there and play football. Like that sounds great. Sounds like it's straight out of Little Giants or something like that. Insert kids football movie here. That sounds great. Not going to happen. But I do want to touch on one point, Derek, before we go to break. This is a huge opportunity for Mike McCoy. A huge opportunity. He hasn't been a head coach in the NFL in a decade. He even said earlier this week he never expected to get such an opportunity again. And if he can rally the troops, so to speak, and put together a game plan to knock off Mike Vrabel and the Patriots, that is a huge feather in his cap, and that can galvanize a locker room. So I appreciate Mike's enthusiasm. Hey, just go out there. Don't worry about the plays. Just play football. That sounds great. That's not how it works in real life. But I do think Mike McCoy, this is a huge opportunity for him.
Hey, just go out there and free ball it. That's what they're doing. That's what their caller wants them to do. And that sounds great. But here is, this is the way I look at it, because I know everyone is expecting Mike Vrabel to come in here and put a shellackling on the Titans. And what coach don't want to put 40 on another coach? I mean, that's just across the league. I don't care if you like me or not. I want to beat you just as bad as I want to beat the next team. And if it's 40-0, then so be it. So, I don't look at it too much when it comes to that. But this is a situation where Vrabel is at a disadvantage, so to speak. And people got to understand and listen to me on this one. He's at a disadvantage because he has no idea what Mike McCoy is going to do. He has no idea. This is not Brian Callahan. It's not a Brian Callahan ran team. Still got some of the coaches that Brian Callahan hired, but this is no longer his operation. This is my ship now. Now I get to change course. However steady it is, I'm changing course, and you're not prepared for that. You don't know if I'm going to stop. You don't know if I'm keep charging. You don't know if I'm going to move right or left. There's no tendencies that you have on me. If you do, you got to go back years and years to get them. So if it's just not a foregone conclusion, now do I think, I believe based upon what I've seen, will the Titans win? Probably not. But I wouldn't put it at 100% Vrabel's going to come in here and put a 40 burger on the Titans. I would be more surprised if he put a 40 burger than if the Titans win.
Okay. Well, we will get back into the Patriots-Titans matchup and your thoughts on Mike Vrabel. 615-737-1025. But coming up next, we discuss the triple header of Greg Sankey's dreams tomorrow in the SEC, including a huge game not too far from here. 615-737-1025 this Sunday. Why are you popping and locking right now, Derek Mason?
I just got to get the joints, loose.
That has nothing to do with
Waterways.
this. Okay, this is distracting. This Sunday, the NFL game of the week is the Commanders versus the Cowboys. Willie can't see what's going on.
Man.
It's the Commanders versus the Cowboys at 3:25 on 94.9 The Fan. The NFL game of the week is presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Massaro in 12 South.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike is worth to you, so they will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you'll never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Fuson, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace Vingan and Donick 1025 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. We will get back into Mike Vrabel in just a little bit. But let's turn our attention toward tomorrow, when Greg Sankey, SEC Commissioner, has the triple header of his dreams. Let's talk about this lineup. 11 a.m. tomorrow on ABC, and also right here on 1025 The Game.
Okay.
LSU, number 10 LSU, at number 17 Vanderbilt. Let's go to 2:30 on ABC. Number 5 Ole Miss at number 9 Georgia. And of course, I believe tomorrow is the third Saturday in October, which can mean only one thing. Number 11 Tennessee at number 6 Alabama. boy, oh boy, do we have some outstanding college football games tomorrow in the SEC. But let's start locally, where LSU will visit Vanderbilt. You may have heard this. Vanderbilt is favored against LSU. The line at the moment on ESPN Bet is Vanderbilt minus 1.5. It's been a minute since Vanderbilt was favored in an SEC game, but that is what it is at the moment. Vanderbilt minus 1.5. And here is some potentially significant news for this matchup, as reported by Pete Thamel of ESPN. LSU linebacker Whit Weeks is considered doubtful for the Tigers game at Vanderbilt on Saturday. He has not been ruled out. However, as sources have said, he still wants to warm up and attempt to play as he battles a bone bruise, in his ankle. He was limited in practice, and he's been spotted in the boot. Weeks was a first-team All-SEC linebacker in 2024. So Whit Weeks is doubtful for LSU tomorrow at Vanderbilt. That is huge, potentially huge news in that matchup. But I do want to talk about this matchup, Willie, from this perspective. I feel like both of these teams, LSU and Vanderbilt, can probably afford to lose one more game if they want to be considered serious contenders for the college football playoff field. And look at the upcoming schedules for both of these teams. LSU, after playing Vanderbilt, hosts Texas A&M and then visits Alabama. Vanderbilt hosts Missouri and then visits Texas. So these two teams have huge games, not just tomorrow against each other, but over the next couple of weeks. So I see this as each team has probably one loss left to give. And I am fascinated by this game, especially, Willie, to see how Vanderbilt responds after a couple of weeks off following the loss to Alabama.
Yes, this one is fascinating from many fronts. Can we give a shout out to I think it was a betting site. But it's been going all over the place. It's like change one word and change the entire meaning of the tweet. Somebody put out there and help me out, because it's I'll come to it in a minute. But what's the anyway, the quote is, Vanderbilt has not been favored against an SEC opponent since 1978. And they just left out one word. Ranked opponent, right? Vanderbilt has been favored many times over an SEC opponent. It's not very often, but it's happened a lot of times since 1978. But for Vanderbilt to be favored against LSU, I think was probably not something that people thought would happen when the season started. And the fact that Adam just set the table about potential college football playoff prospects with this game is just we're still in another world for Vanderbilt getting into this discussion, which speaks a lot to how far they've come. But the one thing I want to see in this game is, and by the way, the Whit Weeks thing is big. If you watch the Netflix series, Whit Weeks was one of the featured guys for LSU. He's their leader, their linebacker guy. So that's a big thing to watch. LSU, though, has a ferocious defense. And I want to see how Vanderbilt's offense bounces back after they struggled turning the ball over. And also, I thought, D-Mace, that Vanderbilt, for the first half or so, even though Alabama was the best team they faced, they still schemed their way into a lot of really good, successful offensive plays. And that has really been something that they've done well this year with better personnel than last year. I want to see how that looks against LSU's defense, which is outstanding. Because if they can scheme their way for some plays, get some busted coverages, that is going to go a long, long way to their ability to win this game. I want to see how Tim Beck and that mastermind he's got with Pavia running it, can they get back to that and scheme their way into some plays with all of their motion and personnel groupings that have been successful for them.
By the way, Derek, LSU's defense has allowed 11.8 points per game this season, which is the 5th best total in the country. 11.8 points allowed per game for the Tigers.
Yeah, and that's why, when we had Clark on, that question was asked of him. Because offenses are so high powered these days. And to be able to go against some of these high powered offenses and only give up 11 points, that doesn't happen many times. Now, when LSU gets in meat of their schedule as they continue to go, that number may notch up some. But still, holding college opponents within your division or in other divisions to 11 points, that's doing something. In a world where scoring points are like free throws in the NBA, is almost automatic. If you know how to do it well. So for them, for Vandy, my thing is Willie was right that if you watch that game, and I would just say the whole game, outside of those 2 mistakes, and that ultimately is what cost them. Because they got no points. Those were almost as much as 14-point swings. At least, at the least, let's say 3 or 7. But this is a team that operate. They take what they do. The offensive coordinator Beck, he takes his offense and he mirrors it to his players. They have this offense that they're running tailor-made for the players that they have. So when you do that, it's hard to stop an offense like that because everybody has roles within the offense. Some players have more than others, but everybody has a role. So when you step out on the field, you're never out of a play. Like you can never run a backside hitch and not run it as if you're gonna get the ball. As if you're not gonna get the ball. You have to, because you're in on that play for a specific reason. So they run this offense and they tailored it to the players that they have. And that's why they look so good against Alabama. Because if you're just talking about players from top to bottom, yeah, Alabama's better than them. We got more 5 stars, 4 stars. But when you're talking about team playing within a system, I think Vandy was the better team playing within their system. But they inflicted 2 mistakes that were costly. So when they go into LSU don't have their they don't have their best player on defense, their linebacker Weeks. How do we expose a defense that only gives up 11 points? If anybody's going to be able to do it, it's going to be Vandy. Why? Because you don't know who to key on.
And I think as the course of the game went over, I thought Alabama did a very good job of closing down some of those plays. They didn't pop, wide open in a bunch of them. It
became more methodical then. It became more methodical. There wasn't these big hits from Vandy. It just 2, 3, 5, 7. It became more methodical for them.
And I think Vanderbilt's going to need some points with plays like that. They're going to need their scheme to be really sharp, their execution to be sharp, because Vanderbilt's defense is a bend but don't break defense, I think. Now, LSU's offense is not nearly as explosive as Alabama's with those great receivers that Alabama has. So that's another thing to watch for is what does the matchup look like up front? Because Vanderbilt walked out of that game, they were definitely not overmatched against Alabama up front. LSU, we know, is very talented up front on both sides of the ball as well. So what does that matchup look like?
Willie, what is your read on Tennessee at Alabama? Alabama favored at the moment by 7.5. You have look, I was incredibly impressed by what I saw from Alabama a couple of weeks ago against Vanderbilt. Ty Simpson looks like he could be one of the, if not the, Heisman Trophy frontrunner this season. I'm curious about this matchup. I don't know exactly how to read it. I'm frankly a bit surprised that the line is 7.5. What's your read on it?
Yeah. Before we turn the page, I finally found I was having a brain cramp. I couldn't remember Barstool Gambling. That's the group that put out Vanderbilt hasn't been favored against an SEC opponent since 1978. and it has 1.5 million views, and it's got a lot of people, a lot of national people saying, "Oh my gosh, that's amazing! I don't believe it." The problem is that's wrong. There's one word missing: ranked opponent since 1978. So anyway, I've now straightened my thoughts out. Let's go to Tennessee, Alabama. I want to hear what Chad has to say about this game in particular, but my observation, I think Tennessee, a lot like Vanderbilt, is going to have success if they execute. I think they're going to move the ball. I think their scheme is going to give Alabama trouble. What I'm curious about is, can over the course of the game Alabama do to Tennessee what they did to Vanderbilt, and that is start closing off some of the scheme plays that are hard to figure out if you haven't seen it, right? For the first half, there's a little deception involved. Over the course of the game, it becomes, I think, a little bit more about talent. And I do think Alabama's got some good matchups offensively to move the ball against Tennessee. If Tennessee can't get a lot of heat on Ty Simpson, I think they're going to have opportunities to burn Tennessee down the field with their receivers.
By the way, Derek, Tennessee has not won in Tuscaloosa since 2003.
Wow. Well, here's what could potentially be the problem for UT. As far as them, passing the ball and scoring, they're up there with anybody. They're the number one scoring team, I think, in college football, or at least in the SEC. But they're facing a team that has seemed to have found their next quarterback. And they already got these receivers that are pretty damn good. And you know why that's bad? Because UT pass defense is horrid. It is horrid. And what is going to have to happen is, are you going to commit to stopping the run? Because if you try to commit to stopping the pass, Alabama ain't going to do nothing but run all over you. And they're going to slow down the game. And a slow game doesn't benefit UT. It just doesn't. They are a high-tempo team. They want to get as many plays as they can. They want to put the heat on you. They want to exhaust you. That's just what they want to do. And they want to find open spaces. But if you are the worst pass defense, or one of the worst pass defenses in the SEC or in college football, then you're going up against a team like Alabama that can both run and throw the football. Which one do you stop? Or you're going to have to come up with a hell of a defensive game plan to try to disguise Ty Simpson.
Yeah, you saw what Vanderbilt did. They backed way up because I think they realized, look, with the receivers and the capability that Alabama has with some of those guys, Bernard, is it Ryan Matthews? Who's
Ryan Williams?
Ryan Williams, I'm sorry. They've got a number of guys that every week when I'm watching, they can carve you up down the field. And this is what's impressive about Simpson. He's only thrown one interception. And, of course, that was early in the game against Vanderbilt on a fourth down play where really Vanderbilt should have knocked the ball down because they would have had the ball in better field position. So he is taking care of the ball despite attacking down the field. And Tennessee has had some injury issues in the secondary. This is what I want to ask Chad about is, are they feeling better, getting healthier there? Because that secondary is going to be tested. They're going to need to play a really good game because you're right. When you back everybody up, Derek, Jam Miller was just taking 6-7 yards at a time, easy, right? Because there was less guys in the box.
Yeah, and that's going to be the dilemma for UT, because can they play potentially a slow them down game, or they're going to say, you know what, we're just going to stop the run, and whatever y'all do, if we're going to try to minimize whatever goes on in the pass game, and hopefully we can outscore y'all. Hopefully we can run as many plays or even more than y'all and outscore y'all. That's the only way that I see UT winning, because if they can't stop them throwing the football, I don't think they're going to be. Will they be disciplined enough to say, you know what, we're going to at least take away the run, to whereas you're going to have to play high tempo football through the air like us.
615-737-1025. Your thoughts. Oh man, what a great college football weekend in the SEC. LSU at Vanderbilt, Ole Miss at Georgia, Tennessee at Alabama. We'll take your thoughts on all of those games. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick will join us. We'll ask him about these matchups as well as the impending return of Mike Vrabel. 615-737-1025. Speaking of the Commodores, who are taking on LSU tomorrow, the pregame show starts right here on 1025 The Game at 9:30 with kickoff at 11 a.m. Vanderbilt football is presented to you by Gary Force Acura, Jimmy Kelly Steakhouse, and Smoky Mountain Tops.
Hey, Derek Mason here, and you've heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a goal to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But I got some news, and it's good because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle. And that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
Tomorrow's college football game of the week is number 14 Oklahoma versus South Carolina at 11:45 a.m. on 94.9 The Fan, presented by Twin Peaks Restaurants and Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com, by Chad Withrow from Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick. And Chad, what a fabulous triple header of SEC games we have tomorrow between LSU and Vanderbilt, Ole Miss and Georgia, and of course, Tennessee and Alabama. Which of those three games will have the biggest influence on how the college football playoff picture shakes out?
It's a great question. I really think it's probably Ole Miss, Georgia. I mean, if you look at Georgia right now, it's fascinating. They are a missed Max Gilbert field goal and a bad call that was in their favor, where they're going to be down 17-0 at halftime to Auburn, to starting 0-3 in the SEC. They lose at home to Alabama. They should have lost to Tennessee. Tennessee had about 8 different chances to put them away, couldn't do it. And then they get a really favorable set of calls, and instead of 17-0, suddenly it's 10-3 at halftime, and they go on to beat Auburn. So I'm really fascinated by Georgia and getting Ole Miss at home. You know, Ole Miss coming in still undefeated. I think that's probably the one that's going to have the biggest bearing on the playoff. But I'm actually driving back from the beach right now with my kids' fall break and had a chance to listen to you guys a lot. And you set it up well when you talked about LSU and Vanderbilt. You know, this feels almost like a playoff game, because I do think that it's hard to imagine a world where the loser of this game doesn't lose at least 3 games this season. So it kind of feels like a survive and advance type situation. And crazy enough, Vandy is a 1-point favorite at home against LSU, which I think is going to be a fascinating game.
So let's talk about that game for a moment. Tomorrow, an 11 o'clock kickoff at First Bank Stadium on West End. As you mentioned, Vanderbilt favored, at least on ESPN Bet, by 1.5. Detail the path to victory for me, Chad, for Vanderbilt against LSU tomorrow.
I think it's really simple. And I know Willie was talking about scheming things up offensively, but I think that's Vanderbilt's offense, right? It's not overly complicated. It's all about getting you off balance. It's a jet sweep here and then a fake jet sweep there. It's getting guys' eyes in the wrong places and giving Diego Pavia really 1 or 2 options on a play. And a lot of times one of those 2 options is to run the football, which he does very well. I think they can do that against pretty much any SEC defense. LSU's got a very good defense. They're going to be able to slow Vanderbilt down, but Vandy's going to score points in this game. And I think that LSU's offense, because of Garrett Nussmeier's injury and their inability to stretch the field, I think it plays right into Vandy's hands, in that they're going to have long drives to be able to get something done. And I think that's difficult to do against this Vandy defense that has been pretty good at bend but don't break. So I really think the matchup is that Vandy's in a good spot in this game. I think the point spread's about right. It feels kind of like a coin toss in this game. LSU's more talented, but Vanderbilt at home, with their ability to scheme some things up offensively, they're going to have a great chance to win this game and be that surviving team that we're talking about for a possible playoff spot.
Now, Chad, since the first game of the season when Alabama lost to Florida State, I think they've sort of gotten back to, you know, where we potentially thought this team could be. They are probably the hottest team in college football at this particular moment. When you look at Alabama in this game in particular, how does UT win this game? Because as we talked last segment, you're looking at a team in UT that's the number 1 scoring team in the country, or at least in the SEC. But with that, you also are giving up a lot of yards through the air on defense. And you're going against a team like Alabama, who has seemed to picked up steam. Their quarterback is playing really well, and they got threats on the outside. So how does UT win this game when they know they have a difficulty at stopping the pass? Because if you try to stop the pass, Alabama's going to do what Alabama does, and they're going to run the ball and slow up the game. And I don't think slowing up the game is good for UT.
Yeah, I think Jan Miller possibly being out for Alabama is huge for Tennessee's game. And I think Deshaun Bishop, if he's not 100%, he's been running the ball really well for Tennessee. That could factor in also. Offensively for Tennessee, it's a lot like Vandy. It feels like halfway through the season, they're going to score points on anybody. They're going to move the ball. Joey Aguilar is one of the best quarterbacks in the country, too. Let's not forget about him in this matchup. He's been arguably as good as Ty Simpson for a lot of this season. I don't think Tennessee fans could have asked for anything more than what Aguilar's brought to the table. Now, and he doesn't turn the ball over really much at all this season either. But defensively, I think that's where you're hitting on a key point there, D-Mace, that Tennessee secondary is atrocious. I mean, there's no way around it. Like, they're not going to magically improve leaps and bounds and suddenly be able to stop the pass. They're down their top two corners. I think if they have Jermod McCoy and Ricky Gibson, they have arguably the two best cornerbacks in the SEC. They're both out for the season. Likely McCoy's out for the season. We know Gibson's now out for the season. Colton Hood's playing pretty well, the Colorado transfer. Ty Redmond on the other side, he's a freshman. He's trying to figure things out. And they're too slow at safety. And I don't know why that is, and I don't know why Tennessee constantly has this year-in, year-out problem at safety, but they're just not good enough at the safety position. And it's a variety of things. You know, there are times where they play zone on a 3rd and long, and guys are getting lost in the backfield and not knowing that people are in their zone, or they're leaving their zone and someone's coming behind them and filling that gap where they're wide open. It feels like every time it's something different with Tennessee's secondary and the screw-ups we've seen this season. But here's what their defense is. They're complete boom or bust. They are either going to give up a 7-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, or they are going to sack your quarterback and force a fumble and get the ball back. Tennessee leads the country in sacks. They are great at forcing turnovers. So, to me, the key in this game is it's not just win the turnover battle. I think you got to be +2 or +3 if you're Tennessee. Keep in mind, against Arkansas, they turned Arkansas over 4 times in that game. They only scored 1 touchdown off those 4 turnovers. They took over 2 other times in plus territory and did not score. If the offense plays a little better complementary football, and I'm not blaming anything on the offense, but in that game alone, if they play better complementary football and score 1 or 2 more, it's a blowout. And I think that game should have been a blowout, and Tennessee, because of their secondary, allowed Arkansas to score a couple late touchdowns.
Now, Chad, where does the loser go from here? Because if you're looking at both of their remaining schedules after this game, it's not too daunting. Yes, UT or Alabama may have one extra, ranked opponent, and I don't think they do. I think both of them have 2 ranked opponents left. But where does the loser go from here?
Yeah, I think it's, you look at Vandy and LSU's schedule. That's why I think that game is so important. The rest of their schedule is much tougher. I think Tennessee and Alabama, D-Mace, you're right. It's very manageable. I mean, as much as an SEC schedule can be manageable, right? It's not like they're going to be walking the park, but Tennessee's going to go to Kentucky. They should win that game by 2 scores the next week. They're going to get Oklahoma at home. What does John Mateer look like at that point? We saw him coming back from the thumb injury. Didn't look great against Texas, but that's at home. Tennessee's going to be favored in that one. Then they go out of conference and play New Mexico State. I really think the one game to look at where they might be an underdog is, let's see how Florida's playing, because that's been a house of horror for Tennessee, going to the Swamp, and they got to go there the week before finishing the season with Vanderbilt at home. And I think it's going to, be less than a touchdown at this point. But I think Tennessee would probably be favored against Vanderbilt in Neyland Stadium. So, look, there's some tough games left, but I really think the loser of this game isn't out of it by any means, simply because the schedule is a little bit more manageable. But you got to go out and take care of business, because what we've seen in this conference, there's not a big separation from 1 to 15. I think Kentucky's a good bit worse than everyone else. But you go 1 to 15 in this league. Missouri went in this last week undefeated. They're going to go to Auburn. That's a toss-up game. Auburn's winless in the SEC. So there are no easy outs in this conference.
Chad Withrow is with us. Chad, I want to take that point a step further, because I think you're dead on right. Everybody's been clamoring for the last several years. I want more good TV matchups. I'm tired of seeing these mismatches. I don't want to see the cupcakes, and it's going to be even tougher when the league goes to 9 conference games, and they still make you schedule a Power 4 team outside of the league. But I'm concerned about something we talked about before the season. is it possible that it's almost too good? Because as you said, 1 through 15, you're seeing great unpredictability and drama each week for the most part. But that's not necessarily good to win the national championship, right? Don't you think this is still this is going to have dog eat dog a little bit?
Willie, you're spot on. It's the ultimate catch-22. We've got this great television product. It's the NFL. The SEC is slowly becoming the NFL, where every week anyone can beat anyone. Point spreads are getting lower and lower, and it's a thrill a minute in the league. But then if the ultimate goal is to get as many possible teams in a playoff and to win a national title, I don't know that it serves you well. I think the Big Ten's in a good spot where they have 3 good teams and then a bunch of mediocre teams, then some bad teams to win a national title, because those teams aren't tested. Ohio State might be the best team in the country right now. Indiana's up there. I think Oregon is going to be there. But it's just a different league, and the SEC has really become what I think everyone who likes college football envisioned a conference could be top to bottom. But are they going to eventually eliminate that extra Power 4 game when they start to see how difficult it gets to go through a season? I also think fans just have to change their mindset. I grew up in an SEC where, as a Tennessee fan growing up, you were devastated if you lost to South Carolina or you lost to Kentucky. I mean, how dare Tennessee or Alabama or Georgia or Florida lose to one of these bottom half programs, a Mississippi State, a Vanderbilt? That's no longer the case. Like every game, there are no, there are the haves and the have-nots to an extent, but that gap is closed big time between those programs, and there's no more easy games. So I think it's hard for fans of those teams that are accustomed to losing maybe 1 or 2 or maybe in a bad year 3 games a season to wrap their heads around the idea that, hey, maybe 9-3 or 8-4 is a good year in this current SEC. And I think that's a tough change for a lot of people. NFL fans know what it's like, but I think for SEC fans of some top programs, they might have to get a little bit more accustomed to those types of records.
All right, 2 more quick matchup things on the 2 big games locally here. One, why do you think Garrett Nussmeier has struggled as much as he has?
I think he's injured. He's got like it's a oblique, or they keep saying upper body issue, but whatever that is has limited his ability to really let it rip and throw the ball down the field. I think there are a few mysteries in this conference. I think DJ Lagway looking worse is a big mystery with nothing changing. Out of the conference, Cade Klubnik and his struggles have been a big mystery to me. I think Garrett Nussmeier, you can point directly at the injury. But I also thought that Brian Kelly and what he's been able to do offensively throughout his career would be more adept at changing things enough to where that offense could be better. I don't know if you guys watched South Carolina LSU last week. That was a snooze fest, that 20-10 game. Both of those offenses are really bad. And I can't believe it when you look especially at the talent at LSU. South Carolina, a different story. But both offenses, I'm thinking, what are they even trying to accomplish offensively? It's been a real mystery. But I think with Nussmeier specifically, Willie, I think you can point to that injury and say that's been the biggest issue, which, again, I think plays into Vanderbilt's hands because this is not a big play offense.
And the last one is Ty Simpson. You mentioned it. He's only thrown 1 interception, and that was on a 4th down against Vanderbilt. But he does hold the ball. He will hold it. He'll extend plays, and he was very effective against Vanderbilt doing that. But he does take some sacks. I'm curious, when you mentioned that Tennessee is the leading sack team in the SEC, about that matchup.
Yeah, I think they're the leading sack team in the country, in fact, not just the SEC. Tennessee's got an advantage. I mean, if they're going to do anything defensively, they're going to have to get after Ty Simpson. They can get to him with 4, but if you need to send 5 or 6 on a blitz, you got to heat him up. I think that the concept of sitting back in coverage on 3rd and 7 and playing zone is not going to work. Didn't work against Arkansas, didn't work against Georgia, will not work against Alabama and Ty Simpson. So you've got to heat him up. You've got to bring extra guys. If you give up a big play or 2, so be it. It's either that or give up, consistently 15 yards on 3rd and 10 if you sit back in zone coverage. And we saw last week that right tackle for Alabama got completely exposed by Missouri's offensive line. Missouri was able to sack Ty Simpson 4 times. Weren't able to really force any turnovers in doing that. But I think Tennessee, they sacked Taylon Green 5 times on Saturday for Arkansas. They're going to get to Ty Simpson. They're going to need to if they're going to have a chance. But I think to really have a chance to pull off the upset on the road, it's not just going to be sacking him. They're going to need to force a turnover or two with him by getting pressure on him quickly.
Chad Withrow of Hot Mike with Hutton and Withrow on Outkick has been our guest on D. Mace, Vingen, and Donick. He joins us every Friday afternoon. Chad, great stuff as always. Enjoy the college football and more this weekend.
Absolutely. You guys do the same. Always fun hopping on your show.
Always a pleasure, Chad. 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Coming up next, the Predators took one on the chin last night. But there is something that I want to discuss because I've heard a lot of Predators fans grumbling about it. I think Willie has probably heard a lot of Predators fans grumbling about it. And I do want to address that coming up next. 615-737-1025. D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick is presented by Bax Homeworks. Get a free estimate at BAXHomeworks.com. That was Max Hers, a dejected Max Hers on the call as the Predators lose 3-2 in overtime last night to the Montreal Canadiens. Man, oh man, that was a rough one for the Predators at the end, and we'll get Willie's analysis on it in just a moment. But if you missed it, here's what happened. The Predators were up 2-1 late. Jonathan Marchessault had a look at the empty net, shot it towards the net. Lane Hudson, the Canadian stud young defenseman, blocked the attempt, got it right up to Cole Caulfield, who just went right down the ice and scored on UC Saros with 20 seconds left to force overtime. And then Caulfield again won it in overtime with 3 seconds left on the clock. Quickly, Willie, you were there. Give me your sense of what happened at the end of that game.
Well, it's a great game. Number one, I mean that's such a great venue, Adam. You've been there. It's. I think, I'm certainly biased to Bridgestone Arena, but I think as far as the road cities go, it's the best place to watch a game because the crowd is into every play, and they are buzzing about this young team. And Nashville did such a great job of containing a young, explosive team that I think is going to score a lot of goals. They held them to 1 goal with less than a minute to go, and they're trying to close the game out. Brady Shea took a long shot at an empty net with about a minute left and just missed it. And then the one that you just referred to was the play. That's the play of the game. Jonathan Marchessault gets the puck coming into the offensive zone and shoots the puck right into the defender who is the last line of defense, Lane Hudson, who happens to be a brilliant playmaker. And I think you could go back, woulda, coulda, shoulda, so many things here. It's easy in hindsight to say, well, he should have done this or should have done that. It happened so fast. But he shot the puck in such a way that it wasn't hard enough to glance off of the defender. Like I saw Shea Weber wind up and rip a slap shot past the guy where the guy was ducking and trying to get out of the way. That was a wrist shot that was easily blockable. And not only did he block it, but he gets the puck and whips it down to the most dangerous shooter that Montreal has. So it was the perfect storm, but also the attention to detail of the game management. The savvy was maybe lacking a little bit. You hate to have that happen. If that happens the other way and Nashville wins, I don't think we're talking about the mistake that the other team made. You'd be talking about how brilliant the play was to turn that play around as quickly as they did. And I also think, to be fair, UC Saros, who has been brilliant in his 4 starts so far, probably should stop that shot by Cole Caulfield, although Caulfield is an electrifying shooter. If that's just an ordinary shooter, I think Saros easily gets that. It made it difficult, but Saros, I think, is probably kicking himself that he didn't make the one more save. And as far as the overtime, because I know you want to get to the roster issue going forward, the big picture question, Adam, so I'll make this brief. As far as the 3-on-3, that's 2 3-on-3s that Nashville has dropped. Both really frustrating. It's the elation when you win, the frustration. It feels like you lose, even though you come out of there with a point. So 2-1-2 after 5 games. They've had points in 5 games, and they've had leads in the third period in 4 of the 5 games. So they put themselves in a great spot. They're so far ahead of where they were last year. But the execution in overtime, not quite there. They were kind of on the ropes. Then Philip Forsberg and Steven Stamkos had close to a 2-on-0, but they sort of glided up the ice and they allowed the defender to sprint back and bother them. And Dobesh made a great save. So Forsberg had a chance to win the game right there. Then with 8 seconds left and the puck in the corner, I think that's where tactically Nashville made their biggest mistake of the overtime. With 5 seconds left, you're not going to be able to go down to the other end of the ice and score. So your mindset has to be a little bit more being on the right side of the puck. Stamkos, Marchessault, Josi, 3 veteran players, probably should know that. And they won the battle out of the corner, and Stamkos was on the wrong side of the puck. Marchessault was down trying to cover the puck, and Suzuki and Caulfield had a 2-on-1. So part of it is the mojo and the magic right now going on for the Canadians. They're feeling it right now, and I'm hoping the Predators learn a little bit in attention to detail how they can close some of these games, because I think the way they're playing, the formula is good. They're going to have chances to win games if UC Saros can see the puck the way he's been seeing it, and the defense plays in front of him. They're going to be a lot of close games, though. They've got to win those close games.
I want to discuss something that I've heard a lot of Predators fans grumbling about, Willie, and that is the roster management when it comes to the young players. Brady Martin has been scratched in 3 consecutive games. He has not played on the road trip. We talked to Barry Trotz earlier in the week. He talked about the plan for Brady Martin. He sat with Brady Martin during part of the Ottawa game earlier this week. When you go on the road, you can't dictate matchups. They want to protect Brady Martin. Joakim Kemmel made the team out of training camp. Everybody remembers the play he made in overtime in the preseason against Carolina. He was scratched and then sent back to Milwaukee. Meanwhile, Tyson Jost, a former first-round pick who has not lived up to that billing, claimed off of waivers at the beginning of the regular season, is playing on the top line the other day in Ottawa. And I think a lot of Predators fans are confused by why a player like Tyson Jost, and no disrespect to Tyson Jost, there are a lot of Tyson Josts floating around in the NHL. You can find a Tyson Jost on the waiver wire every day. Predators fans are confused and a little upset by why the younger players, Kemmel and Martin specifically, aren't getting opportunities, and yet someone like Tyson Jost is. So how would you analyze that?
I think it's a very fair question. I think it becomes a dilemma when you're the coach, and especially when you're on the road. And Tyson Jost has now played 500 games in the league. He's not a top line player. He's a utility guy. I think I would look at Tyson Jost like you would look at a Kalle Yarncroke, a Mark Jankowski, a little bit of a Colton Sissons. He's not exactly like those guys, but he's a utility player, right? He's a utility player that you're spotting in different spots in the lineup to try to fill out your best chance to win that night. I think the hardest thing is when you're a coach on the hot seat in Andrew Burnett, you know you've got to get off to a good start or else you're going to start hearing the howling. And also you've got a fan base trying to say, well, play all these kids. Well, when you're on the road in these hostile environments, if you don't have a great feeling that the kids are there and ready to give you a chance to win, it's easy to defer and say, give me the veteran player who I can trust a little bit more. Now, that being said, they are dressing 7 players 25 and under right now. So it's not like there's no kids playing. And as we talked about, a lot of these players who are prospects, I think Brady Martin is in his own category right now. At 18 years old, they've discussed openly what they're trying to do with him. That's a separate category. The Kemmel one, to me, is the most interesting. I think that's a fair criticism of should they be playing him. Kemmel is a little bit older. He should be scratching the surface. He had that great game in the preseason, and I think people want to see more of him. But here's the dilemma. Look at some of these young forwards. Kemmel, Wood, Schaefer, Zach LaRue, who they sent down. Evangelista, I think he's a little bit older. He's going to continue to play every day. Weisblatt, who you have to waive if you're going to send down. And then you've got really young guys like Martin, Igor Surin, and David Edstrom. They're not all, you can't get them all in there, right? But I think fans fairly would say, I'd like to see 1 or 2 more of those guys in there on a nightly basis. But the question is, what's the best formula to win the next game versus what's best for the long term? I think that's what they're struggling with right now, especially Kemmel. So it's a fair question to ask, I think. And that's something to watch going forward.
The Predators are back in action tomorrow night. They wrap up their road trip at Winnipeg against the Jets. Puck drop at 6, pregame at 5, right here on 102.5 The Game. By the way, I will be providing pregame and postgame for this game, so you'll hear me tomorrow. What a treat for all of you. 615-737-1025. I'm being slightly facetious. Coming up next, we get back into the Titans. The conquering hero, Mike Vrabel, returning to town on Sunday. And I have 2 questions about this game that we are going to answer, and I want you all to answer as well. We will get to that next. 615-737-1025. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5 The Game.
Derek Mason here. If you injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible, or frankly, nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. Look, they understand how much your bike gear is worth to you, so they will get it all repaired, or better yet, replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when they need. So whether it's to support you at an event, or if they see you broken down on the side of the road, with Law Tigers, you will never ride alone. So call 1-800-LAW-TIGERS or visit lawtigers.com. Law Tigers is powered by Freeman and Houston, and you can find them in Nashville, located at 2126 21st Ave South. That's Law Tigers, Tennessee's motorcycle lawyers.
D. Mace Finnegan and Donick 1025. The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, and David Janes here with you. Patriots at Titans, Sunday, Nissan Stadium. Mike Vrabel all of the things. By the way,
Mhm.
the Titans have ruled out Calvin Ridley and Arden Key for this matchup. So the Titans wide receiving core, Eligaya Manor, Van Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, Jim DK. Ooh, it's not looking good for the Tennessee Titans there. And here are two questions that we are going to answer over the next little bit. And I want you to participate as well. 615-737-1025. Number one, is this going to be a bloodbath for the New England Patriots? Are they just going to come in here and smack around the Tennessee Titans? That's question number one. And number two, how will Mike Vrabel try to stick it to the Tennessee Titans on Sunday? Because you know he's going to try. I never interviewed Mike Vrabel. I didn't cover Mike Vrabel. But from afar, I could sense that Mike Vrabel was a petty mofo. And that's fine. I don't mind a little pettiness. But you could tell that Mike Vrabel's petty. Don't you remember how Vrabel used Bill Belichick's own NFL rulebook loophole against him in the Titans wild card playoff game win back in 2019? Who could forget that? Who could forget back in 2018 when the Titans called a trick play against the Patriots while leading by 17 with 10 and a half minutes in a regular season game? Vrabel just wanted to stick it to Belichick. Remember, Tom Brady went out for the pass from Julian Edelman and tripped over himself? So the Titans called the same play for Marcus Mariota like 2 plays later or something like that. You know that Mike Vrabel is going to look for an opportunity to rub the Titans' face in it tomorrow. Sunday, excuse me. But you know what's going to happen. So those are the two questions. And I'll start with you, Derek. One, should we be prepared for a Patriots blowout? And two, how will Vrabel try to stick it to the Titans on Sunday?
I'm not telling Titans fans to not prepare for a blowout. I'm not telling them that. Oh no, not at all. What I will say is, I will be more surprised if it is indeed a blowout than I would be a Tennessee Titans victory. Not because I think the Titans roster is just that much better than New England. I don't. I just think that in this league, what can be perceived as a disadvantage could be an advantage for you. The perceived disadvantage is they had to change coaches in the middle, right before the start of the week. So how will, everyday in-house stuff look? The day-to-day routine, will it be changed up? How much would that affect, players and coaches? But I don't think many people look at it from this standpoint, is that this could be truly the best thing for this game, because he doesn't know, or he doesn't have any sort of keys on tendencies here. And again, if he wants to, he can go back, 2-3 years ago and look at what I did from the offensive standpoint, offensive coordinator standpoint. Yeah, you can do that. But I've been removed from that for a couple of years. I've gained more ideas. I've sat back and I watched. So if there's going to be, I believe, if there's going to be any sort of new coach bump, it would be this week. So I would be more surprised if they came in here and they ran shop on the Titans than I would be if the Titans pulled out a victory.
Willie, same questions.
I think I go back to something that Brinker said when they made the change earlier this week. He really talked about the lack of growth, but when he was drilling down, he was talking about the Titans offense. The Titans offense is the special teams of the Titans last year. Not just last in efficiency, a distant last, like by far the worst in the NFL. So to me, it all starts with what D-Mace is using as a theme here, and that is, will this help at all for an offense that just has not been able to get anything done at all? Because I think one thing we know about Mike Vrabel teams, most weeks, they're going to play the complementary football. They're not going to take any chances. I think their game plan is going to be a classic Vrabel plan. Play good defense, let the Titans unravel and be opportunistic, and you'll win the game by the end. So I don't know if that means blowout, but I think New England, if they play the way they've been playing, we'll get a sound victory. I don't think it's going to be about embarrassing or anything like that. It could, but I think it's going to be more like last week, where if you don't do anything stupid, you should win.
Don't do dumb that hurt the team.
Basically.
Exactly.
Let's go to Adam in Portland on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Adam, I haven't heard from you in a minute. How's it going?
Going good, bud. How are you?
Not bad. What you got?
Hey, I think it's weird how everybody's just propping up Vrabel like he's some god, man. He is a dude. Like he's a Belichick wannabe. I know he did things nice while he was here with Mike Mularkey's squad that Mike Mularkey turned around and started doing good things with. But Mike Vrabel's not special, man. Like he's not. I don't get it. I'm never going to understand it. I think we're going to win this week because I think Mike Vrabel also thinks he's awesome. He thinks he's more awesome than any of you guys do. And he's going to go into this game too cocky. I think T'Vondre Sweat has a big game, hopefully has a big game. And Drake May, while he is a solid prospect at quarterback, dude, I think our defense is pretty good. Like, as long as Cam doesn't hurt us, which, by the way, I wouldn't put Brian Callahan, not to just keep crapping on Callahan, man, but I wouldn't put it – he's like a non-sleazy version of Urban Meyer. That's how bad he was. So if you get that guy away from the offense, it's bound to look so much better. And I think the offense is going to look good. I think we're going to win by at least 10 points. And
Okay.
I'll take my lumps if I'm wrong on this, but I think this is a perfect game where Vrabel's going to be too confident and the team's going to be fired up that they don't have to be underneath a terrible, terrible football coach.
Okay. Adam predicting a double-digit win for the Tennessee Titans. I
would
can't
have
remember.
Probably not.
I would have never thought.
When was the last time the Titans won a game by double digits?
I would have never thought to put Brian Callahan and Urban Meyer in the same sentence.
A non-sleazy
Yes.
Urban
A
Meyer.
non-sleazy version of Urban Meyer. I would have never thought to put those two in the same conversation. In no comparison.
I have a trivia question for the two of you.
Yes.
You know I like these trivia questions. This courtesy of Sports Illustrated. Since the beginning of the 2000 NFL season, 48 teams have either fired, moved on from, or had their coach resign mid-season. Of those 48, how many won their first game with the team? The interim coach, I should say.
Interim coach.
So 48 instances of a team firing, moving on from, or having their coach resign mid-season. Of those 48, how many of those teams won the first game with the new coach?
Oh, man. I would say first game coach. Oof. If they fired you, you had to be bad. I would say 10.
Willie?
15.
20.
Huh.
20 out of 48.
I thought about 20 and then I went down.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's a little too high.
Sure.
That's what they all
win.
say.
Exactly.
That's what they all say. Since the beginning of the 2000 NFL season, according to Sports Illustrated, 48 teams have either fired, moved on from, or had their coach resign mid-season. Of those 48, 20 have
Just
won
under
their first
50%.
game with a new voice at the helm. Yes, that is indeed under 50%. And I'm looking at this Patriots roster. Drake May, he's feeling it right now. Give him credit. Drake May looking real good right now. And I can't say I watch a ton of Patriots football, but I look at their roster on paper and I don't see this uber talented group. Ramondre Stevenson, Stephon Diggs, Hunter Henry at tight end. You know, look at all of these former Titan players on this roster, by the way. Josh Dobbs, the backup quarterback. Austin Hooper, he was a member of the Titans, wasn't he, at one point? Austin Hooper. Who's leading the Patriots in tackles? Robert Spillane leading the Patriots in tackles. Jack Gibbons.
Hero.
Jack Gibbons. Oh, Harold Landry. And, of course, there are a lot of former Titans coaches on the Patriots staff as well. But I'm looking at this roster, and I don't see a roster that I think matches up with the most talented rosters in the NFL. But the Titans are so devoid of talent that this roster looks so much better by comparison. So when I hear what you're saying, Derek, about Mike Vrabel doesn't have Mike McCoy film to study ahead of this game. I'm not sure how much that really matters with how bad this team is without Calvin Ridley. They're like, I don't know. I think this is going to be, I don't know how else to say this, curb stompage supreme on Sunday.
They're not that good. The Patriots aren't that good.
But the Titans are that bad.
Right, but I don't think it's going to be a curb stomping because I agree with you. You just listed guys. I think that is a trait that Vrabel's usually pretty good at, is finding role players that he trusts, that he kind of knows what he's getting from. And this is to me the key matchup. If there's a weakness on the Patriots, it's pass defense. They do not score well in the metrics there. But that's the problem. Without Ridley, you kind of wonder, can the Titans take advantage of that at all? And that's why I kind of like. But I don't think the Patriots are this juggernaut that's going to just cut through them like a hot knife through butter. I think it's going to be more methodical. And I do think the Patriots will win the game, but I just don't think it's a curb stomp. They don't have a great roster.
By the way, the Titans did win by double digits last season, 31-12 against the Miami Dolphins, the game that I have wiped from my memory completely. So they have won double digits.
Yeah, but well, let me jar your memory. Who played quarterback for the Dolphins in that game?
Snoop Huntley, Pro Bowler.
Exactly.
Snoop Huntley.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's go to Eric on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Eric, thank you for calling. Please go ahead.
Hey, guys, no dad joke, unfortunately, guys. I'll eventually come up with, it's been a while since I talked to you guys. But one of the things I want to bring up, guys, is this. Everybody talks about the fact that Mike Vrabel and his record towards the end, which is fair, and I have no problem with that maybe should have been fired. And people bring up Brian Callahan and his coaching situation. But I got to bring up Mike McCarthy. I hear a bunch of people say, well, let's bring in Mike McCarthy, guys. Here's my issue. Guys, people know me, and you know me well. I grew up a Dallas Cowboys fan. Nobody's talking about his coaching tenure there. I remember the time when he was there. He had issues with situational football. He had issues with clock management. He had issues with proper use of timeouts. And if people remember, the Dallas Cowboys during his time there, they were either number one in the NFL or near the top every year in penalties. And I'll give you a prime example of my issues with him. I remember a Saturday night game against the Detroit Lions where Dallas had a huge lead. They were dominating the game, and they almost blew the game with some of, I felt like, his coaching issues. And the Dallas Cowboys only got bailed out because of a horrible call by a referee on a 2-point conversion where Detroit went for it, and they got screwed. He went for it again. They won by 1 point. And in my opinion, the Cowboys and Mike McCarthy should have lost that game. So all these people that want Mike McCarthy here, be careful what you wish for. I'll support it as a Titans fan, but if all this stuff happens, remember where you hear first. You hear it here first, guys. And I can point to several other situations. So all these Titans fans want Mike McCarthy. That's where you're getting if he's coming in. And I want to get your thoughts on that. Y'all take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for the call, Eric. Not to dismiss your question, because Mike McCarthy is a coaching candidate for the Tennessee Titans. We'll focus on that later. Right now, we're talking Mike Vrabel and the upcoming game on Sunday against the New England Patriots. So I hear what Willie's saying. The Patriots roster is not like, I don't know where I would rank it in the NFL. It's a solid roster, but it's a roster on paper that doesn't frighten me. But I just look at the Titans roster, the fact that Cam Ward isn't going to have his most reliable weapon on the field in Calvin Ridley. You're counting on a rookie wide receiver in Alec Iamander. You're counting on two old heads in Van Jefferson and Tyler Lockett. Tyler Lockett has been non-existent, minus the fact that he fell on the fumble into the end zone.
He got a touchdown.
He did get a touchdown out of it. I call that the Traylon Burks special. By the way, did you see Traylon Burks
got signed? Yes.
Traylon Burks with the Washington Commanders. So good for you, Traylon Burks, back in the NFL. But I don't know how the Titans are going to keep up. Now, we'll see what happens with the pass defense. See if Jeffrey Simmons can get after Drake May. We saw firsthand in this stadium a year ago how elusive Drake May can be. Remember the game-tying touchdown at the end of regulation? The Titans did end up winning that game. But, I don't think it's going to be something like 45-10. But I do think that this might be a 3-score game.
Ooh, man. That's a lot of points. A 3-score game, that's a lot of points. Especially in NFL, it has a lot of points in college too. 3-point spread. I mean, a 3-score spread.
I mean, what the hell do I know? I mean,
no, but I'm just saying. They are in a better position, obviously, than the Titans. You look at their victories. There's no outside of the Buffalo, and I think division games are a little bit different. But outside of Buffalo, I don't think they've been really. You really can't test their mettle against some of these teams that they play. But I think New England, if not anything else, they're a solid team. They are a team that will get turnovers and not getting up many. They're going to be a disciplined team. So they're always going to find themselves in ball games, whether they are overmatched or not. And that's sort of the Mike Vrabel effect, in a sense. Is that you may not win the game, but you're going to pretty much stay around long enough to have an opportunity to win. And unless you do something catastrophic, the game may end up being closer than what it probably should have based on your personnel compared to theirs. But this is a solid roster that is not going to do too many things to beat themselves. And they got the perfect coach for that. Because now he's learned he's not going to do too many things to beat himself. This second go around as a head coach, and it's bearing out. I don't think people picked New England to be 4-2 at this point. I think they're 4-2.
They are 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2. I don't think many people picked them to be 4-2, and actually to beat Buffalo. Not many people picked that, but that's what they did. Not because I think they're necessarily better than Buffalo, but because they're a solid team that is coached well. So will he come in here and put up 40 points or blow them out? I don't know. There's a possibility. But I do think that even though this team is outmatched, having T'Vondre Sweat back, having J.C. Latham back another game, getting his legs underneath him even more. New coach, maybe a new way that Cam looks at this game, a new way that they kind of try to guide him. So it could work out. I don't see anything that would say anything more than what I've seen prior to Brian Callahan being fired. I don't see anything more that's going to tell me this team is a bad team or this team's not going to win. Now I'm starting to see reasons why they could win. I know all the reasons why they can't win. And if Brian was the coach, it'd still be those same reasons. But now I see reasons they can win the game. And we'll see come Sunday.
I don't think the Titans are going to win this game. But Adam's 3-score thing, I will take you up on that, Adam. There's no way. So you're saying 17 points. 17 points is where you said it. I will take the Titans plus 17. The Patriots, they lost to the Raiders, who aren't any great shakes. They beat the Dolphins, who have had all kinds of problems. Mm-hmm. They beat the Panthers, who are improving, and that's their most decisive win. They had a great win at the Bills in front of everybody. That was impressive. Mm-hmm. And they beat a Saints team that's not real good. So I just don't think this is a juggernaut Patriots team. If the Titans play reasonably well at home, they should be able to be at least competitive. I just don't think they don't have enough to win the game. I don't think they'll cover. But 3 scores and getting curb stomped, that should not happen.
Why do people want the Titans to get curb stomped?
That's just
that hurts.
It does.
I've never got
curb
stomped. I've never got curb stomped, but
no,
I'm sure it hurts.
Yeah, I don't know why I landed on that, but that's what I came up with. 615-737-1025. Whose side are you on? Are you taking my 3-score bet? Or are you on side Willie, who thinks they're going to cover minus 17? Let us know. 615. I think the actual
not
line.
Asking much.
No, I think the actual line is -7 in favor of the Patriots. But 615-737-1025. Our phone and text lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Should we anticipate a Predators Patriots blowout win against the Titans on Sunday? And how will, because I know he will, because he can't help himself, how will Mike Vrabel try to stick it to the Titans on Sunday? Because we've seen him do it to the Patriots when he was with the Titans, and I think he's going to do it on Sunday. So how will he do it? 615-737-1025. D-Mace Van Gendonic is presented to you by Bax Homeworks, which transforms kitchens, bathrooms, and living spaces into places you can't wait to come home to. Get a free estimate at baxhomeworks.com.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. F&M Bank has 20 locations in our listening area, and there's one near you. They've got a bunch in Clarksville, 6 to be exact. They're up in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, but closer to home, West End Avenue in Nashville, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Springfield. Just go to myfmbank.com and you will see the nearest location to you, and enjoy F&M Bank as we celebrate them when we do our F&M Bank Take It to the Bank, which is coming up at 5:45 to end the week today. We're going to have some fun with that. I am really enjoying the recap of the standings right now because I'm doing very well.
I wonder
am in
why.
hot pursuit, trying to win a title and take it away from Derek Mason. It all is brought to you by F&M Bank. They do a great job. Your life is complicated. Your banking, your finances don't need to be. Banking made easy on purpose. That's the motto of F&M Bank. We'll take it to the bank at 5:45.
do think a lot of people were making this about Brian Callahan versus Mike Vrabel, and then obviously the Patriots are coming in to Nashville this weekend to play them. And there was definitely some chatter yesterday that did the Titans fire Brian Callahan before Mike Vrabel could come into town and embarrass them if they won, to just avoid it, right? Like let's just not give him the satisfaction. Let's just fire Brian now.
Interesting.
I don't know if that's true. That's just like fun theories that people had going on yesterday. But this was never about comparing Brian Callahan to Mike Vrabel. I think we all could agree that Vrabel is a better coach. I think the story of this upcoming Sunday is the dysfunction of this organization with the number 1 overall pick who has shown that he can play. Are they going to be able to fix this and get the most out of the player? And I think the Vrabel side to this is, look, I don't think he ever really wanted to leave Tennessee. I think he wanted to be there for the rest of his life, and they had some success there. But at the end, it was obvious that him and the owner did not like one another. So this is more about ownership versus Mike Vrabel on Sunday.
That was Diana Rossini discussing the matchup between the Patriots and Titans on Sunday. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Ricky on our YouTube chat says, I was going to say Adam is like Lou Holtz, but he's more like Lex Luthor. He just likes to watch stuff burn. That's the second time I've been compared to Lex Luthor in the past couple of weeks.
It's the bald head and glasses, man.
That's really all it is.
But I don't think Lex Luthor wears glasses.
That's just the bald head.
But y'all have
And
bald heads too.
No facial hair. We have facial hair.
That's true.
Yeah. Bald head, no facial
Again, you're compared to a rich guy in fictional characters.
Absolutely.
Take that
So
as a
why are you
compliment.
upset?
Am I really that twisted? Am I twisted, guys?
And when it comes to this show, yeah, you are.
You do like chaos. You
do.
said it. It's in the intro.
I do like chaos. That is true. And as far as I know, Lex Luthor is both smart and rich. So I wish I could be both of those things. So I take it as a compliment. Thank you, Ricky. Cody says, what was Vrabel's record versus the spread? Callahan's record versus the spread? McCoy's record versus the spread? I can't answer Vrabel's record and McCoy's record, but I can tell you that Brian Callahan was 4-19 against the spread as Tennessee Titans head coach, the worst against the spread mark by a head coach in the Super Bowl era per ESPN Stats and Info.
That just shows you how bad things were around here. That even against the spread, you couldn't win. And usually, in this league, these spreads are not enormous anyway. They're not. It's not like there's a wide gap between you and an opponent when it comes to, how Vegas do the scoring. But that just shows you how bad their team is when you can't even cover a spread in the National Football League. So, how do they dig themselves out of it? Does it start this week? Insert new head coach. Can they get some type of life in them where they can go out and match it? Just the offense just needs to, because Jeffrey Simmons said this. I think it was Jeffrey Simmons that said it. He said we just hadn't played on all three phases good at the same time. Basically, that's essentially what he said. I think it was Jeff. 1 week is, or it could have been Cam. 1 week is this, and next week is that, but it's never this. If they can get this, all facets of this team on the same, so all in line on the same plane, I think they have a better shot at winning than not, because their special teams has played well. Their defense have held their own until they just couldn't hold no more. And the offense, with the exception of one quarter, has been the anchor. They've been what's been pulling the team down or stopping the team from moving forward. Because if you just take it based upon what their special teams and defense have been doing, this is a good team and they should have won more games. But when you have an offense that is wearing you down, that is not scoring points, then come third quarter, when I've given you everything that I had and you're asking me to give you some more and stop them again, Houston, when they're in the red zone again, I can only stop so much. And then what happens? Everything the dam breaks, and there you go. They score point after point. Why? Because the offense is not holding their hand in the bargain. So like they said, a few of the players said, if they can play well, if they can match, if the offense can match the special teams, if the defense can match the special teams, and the offense can match both the special teams and the defense, this team can put themselves in a better position to win a ball game. And they just hadn't done it. Excuse me.
I would stop short of saying that the defense has played like a good team. I think the special teams have been good. I think the defense has been okay. It looks good compared to the offense because the offense has been so bad. But I want to go back to something that Diana Rossini said, because I think we've come to know that she has got a pretty good connection. She gets good stuff from Vrabel's camp, right? Over the years, she's dialed in.
Yes.
What is she talking about when she said Michael Vrabel wanted to stay there for the rest of his life? That's just not reality in the NFL. Am I wrong about that? Nobody stays in one place for life.
I mean, 18 years would be considered life. So
unless you're Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh, I guess those are lifers.
Yes, that's just so rare.
Exactly.
That is so rare.
You're right. It's rare for that
this
to
is,
happen.
but let's look a little deeper into that. You don't think that Mike Vrabel knew what was coming with the roster? There is no question in my mind. He knew exactly the trouble that was ahead. He saw that the draft picks had been busting while he was still the coach. The roster was getting thinner. His best players were aging, and he could not sustain it, especially because I think it was pretty clear that he was not a huge fan of Will Levis. He made him the third-string quarterback, not the second-string quarterback, the third-string quarterback to start his rookie year. And then when he put him in, so he didn't give him any reps in the preseason or anything like that. Then he put him in there, and you could tell he tried to make it work, but I don't think he was really enthralled with where Levis's arrow was pointing for the big picture. So do we really think that Rossini is being sincere when she says he wanted to stay there for the rest of his life? I think that's overblown big time.
I mean, these coaches, they understand.
Because he would have been fired by now. He would have been fired by now if they kept him.
Yeah. And listen, I can see him saying, hey, listen, I believe in myself enough that,
he didn't want to give up
turned, I would have turned things around and I would have been here. I get that point. But I think if he was looking at it realistically, he had to have known how bad of a shape that roster was in toward the end. And it was going to take a lot to turn this thing around. Now, he probably could have turned it around a little bit quicker than, Brian Callahan was on his way to not doing, or the next coach, but it still was a long road, regardless. So, I mean, he's a solid coach that knows how to work with. If he has a little talent or if he has talent in certain areas, he knows how to hone in on that talent. Or if the table's set for him, he understands, what utensils need to be had and everything else. The table just isn't set for this team. And I don't know if somebody like, if he stayed here, it would have been the same thing. It would have been him ultimately losing his job like he did, but it would have just been a year or two later. So, we'll see how this thing goes.
One texter
by
says,
the way,
yes.
Adam, was Diana listening to our show when she talked about the thought, did Amy Adams Strunk go ahead and not give Vrabel the satisfaction of beating Callahan with Vrabel? Because
that's been a popular theory.
Mm-hmm.
It has been, but that's exactly what we said on Wednesday, or Tuesday it was. Maybe it was Wednesday. So she may have been listening. So shout out to Diana, who does a good job. She's very good. If she was listening to us, or maybe, were we the only one saying that? Probably not.
No.
We were.
We're going to say we were. We're going to say we were, though.
Fine.
Yeah, we were.
Fine.
We're the only people saying it. I'm going to say it. Yeah. And if it's not true, then so be it.
Dylan in Antioch says, Adam, is it Lex Luthor or Lex Luthor? I believe it's Luthor.
Yeah.
Despite the fact,
Luthor.
Yes, Luthor. So there you go, Dylan.
Let's call you Lex.
Can we just read quickly? This is the doom and gloom text of the week, brought to you by Scott in Shelbyville. I feel bad for Willie. Question should be, who is going to lose worse tomorrow, the Titans or the Predators?
Ooh.
That was a soul-crushing, season-ending defeat against Montreal last night. Don't think they recover.
Wow.
All the old doubt from last year just walked right back into the locker room after that, after only 5 games.
Wow, Willie.
77 to go. Don't even bother playing them.
It's not even November yet.
What you got to say about that, Willie?
Well, it was a soul crusher. There's no question about it. But they got a point. You move on. You got another chance tomorrow night. I feel a little bit better about where that's going than the Titans at this point.
Scott, go outside and just take in this beautiful sunset and just think positively. That's a fatalistic text if I've ever read one in my life. When we don't want that from you, we want you to be happy. Sometimes we want you to be sad because it makes for better radio when y'all are pissed off. But for this time, let's just make it. We just want you to be happy.
Probably not.
Do you think Titans want them to win? Like where I'm going with it is, of course, the tankathon situation, the trades, things like that. Like, what's the fastest way to get good at this point for the Titans? And, the texter brings up the Predators. They could get to that point where this particular season they're better off pivoting and trading some veterans away, playing the kids, as a lot of people are clamoring for right now, and maybe having another year where they get a high pick. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but that's the beauty of 82 games. You still have some time to figure out which direction your team's going, and so far, they've been very competitive. And, if they did better in the overtimes or at the end of the regulation, they could have even more points than they have. But the Titans are at a point right now where I don't think there's any question that they need to pick high. That's the quickest way back. And I still haven't heard a whole lot about trading Jeffrey Simmons. I really hope that comes back up because he's playing so well. I think striking while the iron is hot is huge there.
By the way, you spoke my love language. You said tankathon.com. The Tennessee Titans are 6th in the draft order as of now, according to tankathon.com. Behind the Jets, Browns, Ravens, Dolphins, and Saints.
Well, that's going to change. You just figured they'd be up to number 2 or 3 pretty soon here.
Maybe 1.
Quickly, let's go to Wes and Hermitage on our phone line. Wes, thank you for calling. Go ahead.
Oh, guys, happy Friday. I really, really want y'all's opinion on this. I've already told Chase and Big Joe, I think 2 days ago. I talked to Jake earlier today, so now y'all get to hear the same thing. But I'm a big person that history repeats itself, and especially so with Mike Vrabel. So with him just beating the Bills on prime time, that's the Vrabel special. But it's a two-parter. That was part A. Part B to that is that they then get beat by a team that they shouldn't lose to, and that's the Titans. And I just think this is just setting up perfect for us. Vrabel's coming in here all heated, thinks he was going to run up the score. He just came off of a big win against Buffalo, but we also just fired our coach. We've got a team right now that's really fueled and really gassed to go out there and show them that we're improving. I think this is a good setup for us. And before I could change my mind, I went ahead and put a bet on that. And I've got the Titans -2.5, and I've got Tony Pollard and Spears both getting into the end zone. I think the Titans take the win.
Hey, Wes, why don't you just burn that money as opposed to I appreciate
I will say this. I will give my shot of the Titans -2.5 and both running backs getting into the end zone more of a chance than them losing by 17.
Okay, we shall see. Thank you for the call, Wes. We'll answer Wes's question when we come back to wrap up the show. We will also, of course, Take It to the Bank. That's coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5 The Game.
Hey, this is Derek Mason. Happy Friday. And you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff over at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting some goal to shed some extra pounds. only to face disappointment. But I got some news, and it's good because at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and you only. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D-Mace, Vingan, and Donick 1025. The game. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. It is time to take it to the bank with our friends at F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. Visit one of their locations throughout Middle Tennessee and Southern Kentucky or online at myfmbank.com. I do want to mention one thing that I forgot to mention at the top of the hour. Usually we have Ask D-Mace Fridays at 5. Ask D-Mace is, shall we say, under construction. We are going to roll out a new and improved version of Ask D-Mace on Monday. So be sure to tune in for that if you were wondering why we did not have Ask D-Mace at 5 o'clock. Before we get back into the Titans and Patriots with our closing thoughts, let's recap last week's action. David Janes, take it away.
All right, boys. So first off, let's go to the general question. So one of our general questions was Max Crosby would have either over under 1.5 sacks. So me and Willie were the only ones that said over, and D-Mace and Ving and Adam had unders. He had 2 sacks, so me and Willie got those points off of that. And then we also had Calvin Ridley over under 54.5 yards. Unfortunately, Calvin Ridley got out early for the game and only had 17 yards, I think.
I think we all took the over on that.
No. This guy right here.
Oh.
This guy right here. No. This guy said under. This guy said, I don't believe in Calvin Ridley. I was really trying. I was only doing it because everyone else said over, and that's why I did it. So to be a little different. So yes, so I'm the only one who got them all correct this week. So shout out to me. Yes. But now let's go to Adam's. Let's see. What did Adam? Adam, you said Geno Smith would have an interception.
Sure
that
did.
happen. And you said the Colts would win by double digits against the Cardinals.
That did not happen.
That did not happen, unfortunately. So you have a total of 3 points for a total of 30.
Okay. All right.
Now, Willie, you had a pretty good week. You said double-digit strikeouts for Derek Struble. That did happen. And that the Brewers would eliminate the Cubs. So you got a total of 7 points for the week for a max total of 46 points.
Willie's running away from me in this thing.
He's killing it. He's killing it right now. Now, D-Mace, you...
Yeah, I know.
You've been struggling.
Yeah.
But again, slow starts. And they're not always advantageous to what could happen at the end. But you said the Tigers would have 2 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
They did get 2 sacks, so you got the points from there. But then you said your mighty Tigers would beat the Mariners, and unfortunately they did not. It was a great game.
Yeah.
17 or what was it, 15 plus innings or something like that?
Too many.
Too many innings for baseball. But Dave Mason, you had 3 total points for the week for a total of 22 points.
Okay, I got points. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Now for me, let's go to me. I want to say this: a perfect week for your boy. I said that the Brewers would beat the Cubs and at LSU over South Carolina. So I have 12 points for a total of 38 points. I'm catching up to you, Willie. I'm only 8 points away. I'm coming close.
All righty.
I'm concerned because the commissioner, he controls the point gathering. So if he's close, he knows I've had issues with him, so he could pad.
Whoa,
something to watch. I'm going to be watching very closely. David.
Listen.
Very closely.
Your thumb is on the scale.
Listen, I am not. Sometimes I'm a good commissioner, but I can be bought.
Wow. Okay.
By yourself.
Okay.
Especially by myself.
So today, Derek is in charge of our 2 common questions. So Derek, why don't we hear them?
Okay, the first common question is this. New England hasn't surrendered 50 yards to a running back through the first 6 games this season. The Titans as a team is averaging 81 yards. Well, really 82 because it's 81.8 yards a game. Pollard is averaging 60 yards a game. So over under 55 yards for Pollard.
Over under 55 yards for Pollard. I will say over because who the hell is going to create offense for this team without Calvin Ridley? I think they rely on the run even more. So I will take the over for Tony Pollard. Excuse me.
Willie?
I'm going to go under. I would say this is just for Pollard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not for
this is not for the team. Yeah, just for Pollard.
Yeah, so Pollard, I think a Mike Vrabel tactic, and this is how they've played it this year. They have done a good job against the run. They make you one-dimensional. They have given up a certain amount of heat passing, but I think they're going to try to take away the run and see if Cam Ward can beat them through the air. So I think they're going to take Pollard away, and so I'm going to go under.
I need the points. I'm going over.
David?
Going over.
I'm also going over.
Okay. Second question.
All right. And this one is, and we talked about this one. Will Vrabel get a tribute or an opportunity for the fans to show their appreciation? Here's the thing. And it has to be a true acknowledgement. Don't just show his face and let the fans wave and cheer. They got to say his name. Thank you, Mike Vrabel. Do a tribute like that. Don't just show his face on the sideline and the fans just cheer and yell and scream and clap. No, I want there to be a verbal acknowledgement by those with the PA department to say Vrabel or a video. One of the two. So what do y'all say?
I'll answer that in 2 words. Hell no, they're not going to do that. That's actually more than 2 words. No, I will say absolutely not. There will be no acknowledgement of Mike Vrabel.
Ooh.
Willie?
What if they do it at like 8:59 a.m. and say, "Hey, we did it"?
Nope,
The
it got to be
gates weren't
game time. Game time.
So not on Twitter.
Not on Twitter.
Okay,
No, it has
but what
to be
about
game time.
in honesty though? What about part of the pregame? Like 11:30, 11:45. Do they do it, or is it a TV timeout?
No, because teams
But
don't usually do that.
It could be before kickoff, right?
No, because teams usually do it during the game, some point during the game, where it's half, at a timeout in the first quarter or the second quarter. Anything past halftime, they're really not going to do it.
I think it can be pregame, like right before the kickoff, like before the coin toss, something like that. As long as it happens by what time's the game? Noon. So what time do they meet at midfield? Like 11:55. Like as long as it's around there, I think that's okay.
Everybody has to be dressed on the field.
Okay.
And the game is getting ready to go.
Okay.
I don't want there to be guys straggling in. It's warm-ups, and then the video goes up. And
I still say no.
No.
I still say no.
Okay.
I say yes, and they absolutely should do it, and butter them up as much as you possibly can. I'd play it up. I would try to soften them up, and it's the right thing to do. He had a good run as the Titans coach. If you can't acknowledge that, that's very petty on the part of the Titans ownership. So they absolutely should do it, and I think they will do it.
David,
I think Amy, she wants to just look good. I think she will. I think she will do it.
She'll do it.
Okay.
She's going to do it.
All right, quickly, our individual selections. Drake May, for me, 3 total touchdowns on Sunday. So any combination of passing or rushing touchdowns, at least 3 total touchdowns from Drake May. And I will take the Vols to cover at Alabama. I don't know if they'll win, but I will take the Vols to cover at Alabama. I'm seeing Alabama minus 7.5. Derek?
I am taking another kick at this. Diego Pavia. He will account for at least 2 touchdowns. Okay, that's 1. And then 2 will be Cam Ward will throw a touchdown.
Willie?
I'm going to stick with a team that's been very good to me.
The Miami
Hurricanes. No question. You got to ride the wave. They are a 10.5 point favorite at home against a pretty good Louisville team, but Miami, I think at home could pull away late on that one. I'm taking Canes minus 10.5, and I will take the Buckeyes of Ohio State, 25.5 point favorite on the road at Wisconsin. Ohio State's defense is so good. I just think Wisconsin's going to have trouble scoring, and Ohio State will methodically pull away. And now Ohio State is the real deal.
David?
All right, boys. Listen, my favorite team, my West Tennessee boys, I'm going for the Memphis Tigers. They're a favorite by 21.5. I think they're going to do that. I think they're going to beat whatever that team's called, UAB, whatever they're called. They'll beat them by 21.5. And also, I think Vandy offensively will combine for 3 rushing touchdowns.
Okay. Well, we've got a jam-packed weekend of football. College football on Saturday, Patriots and Titans on Sunday. The Predators are back in action tomorrow, wrapping up their road trip. So, Willie, we will see you on Monday. We haven't seen you all week.
I can't wait to get back. I can't wait to get back home. I'll be back tomorrow night. And David, let me say, with your take it to the bank there about the 3 rushing touchdowns, if that happens, give yourself a couple extra points, okay? I will be glad to give you a few if that happens.
Well, you know what? Give him some of your points, Willie.
Yeah. You know what? I'll do that. Thanks, Willie. I'll take some of your points.
I will be very in a giving mood if that does happen, especially against that LSU defense.
But that'll do it for us this week. We will catch up with you Monday at 3, reacting to the Titans and Patriots, plus everything in the college football world, Predators as well. We'll talk to you Monday at 3.
Be love on your people. Have a safe, blessed, and wonderful weekend. I love you. The team love you. You hear that music. Don't you forget about us, because we will be back come Monday at 3 o'clock. Peace.
Tell me your troubles and doubts.